How's that? Any better? Nothing? Rad. We're doing good. Let's see. Hello. Check. Check. Hey. We're back. Hi. I'm good at computers. Hell yeah. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I've got some stuff we're going to work on today. So we're going to be continuing on with our bat, simian, mole rat creature that was unearthed from the from an underground hole, and we're just gonna keep going on with this guy. I haven't touched him since last week, so this is just straight up continuation. And I've got him in keyshot here, just so I can kind of evaluate the forms and look at everything and be like, okay, here we go. But basically, I looked at it again. I was feeling good about it last week, and just pulling it up now, I'm like, hate everything about it. So that is just a natural part of the process. Every time you start something, you're just gonna, you're gonna go through this stage where you just despise it. So I'm at that stage. So I'm going to show you how to get through that, and that frustration, which is kind of how we spend, all that sculpting time. Hi, that's right, Blargle Blogger. Welcome. We're gonna work on this guy and just get him a little bit cooler. There's some things I want to add, some things I want to change, and we're just gonna keep going. We'll take this guy as far as we can get it, I guess. All right. So looking at it, I was happy with some stuff, but I was thinking about it. The legs are pretty standard right now, just standard. Logan, what's up, man? Hey, welcome. Yeah, demo time, baby. Let's demo. I was thinking about what I can do to switch up the legs, and I don't know what this music is. There we go. That's some spooky stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try flipping the legs backwards and see if I get some happy accidents. So whenever I do that, or whenever I try something, just duplicate it, and then you can just do it from here. So there we go. So I'm just going to try and see if some happy accidents happen this way. I don't know if it'll work. I was kind of messing around with it after the stream. I just thought, what if we could do some weird cricket legs? And swing them around this way. I don't know. I'll just mess with it. We'll just try it. It'd be fun if it was kind of contortionist. All right. It's not working. But maybe I will make the legs a little bit longer. We can start fusing it together. I'm still thinking about what is going to be the next element that we're going to add to this thing. Because right now, it's kind of a bog standard creature. You're going to see this guy, everywhere. So we have to think about that one thing that's going to make him special, right? Why does this creature stand out from all the rest. And that might be some, elements that I add to the silhouette, tendrils or something like that. I have his hands here. I'm just going to start duplicating these. And I like this method because it kind of this is a nice like freewheeling method for like developing hands and fingers. Because what I do is I just make one really long singular finger and just duplicate it across, shrink it down, squash it, and then by the when you get time to merge this all together, it's really easy. Adam Hartel, how dare you come here? I'm just kidding. Adam, you bastard. Here we go. So now to make a thumb, I'm just going to dupe again. I thought long spindly fingers would be interesting. And on top of that, it's creepy as well. They do look like really long, so I don't know if that exactly works. So we might just shrink it down. We're gonna make it work. Yeah. The program I'm in is ZBrush. Weird, long, spindly fingers. And I don't know. This could be helpful when it, for its silhouette. Why maybe its long fingers are there for grasping and hooking and hanging on to things. Tree from Poltergeist, yes, correct. I was thinking about lemurs' eyes when I was doing it because they have a where are those guys? Yeah, these guys. Hold on. I'm just gonna pop it in there just because it's good reference anyway. Yeah, these guys, these lemurs. And what's great about them is that they have a really long digit in the middle, and they use that to scoop in and grab bugs and other juicy things. And it actually can swivel in 360. And that's how they eat and forage. They go into trees and they scoop around with their long, weird fingers. It's a remarkable little adaptation. So I'm just going to emphasize the knuckles here with some inflate. So I can kind of get a hang of like how long these things are. So the wrist is right there. And I'm going to think about some other things, maybe to give them like webs in between the arms. Maybe in the in this region, I didn't want them to like fly specifically, but maybe I'll give them. That might be another interesting element that we can do is like a flying, flying squirrel. Maybe that's it. We just give them just enough webbing. I'll do it. Yeah, that works. Now, I haven't fused in the arms yet, and the reason why is maybe, down the line if I'm designing or, trying to come up with ideas and you want multiple hands, multiple, you know, he's got some baby arms in there. I feel like, the multi-limbed creature is kind of overdone at this point. Like we've seen Avatar do it, and it shows up in a lot of things. So I'm going to try and avoid that. Sometimes if it's an alien species, it makes sense to have multiple arms, but if it's a creature from Earth, maybe not. I don't know. We're going to come up with some other elements to give him as well. Doing that old artist thing of like not really spending any time sculpting. I just like to zoom in and out and rotate around. It's nice because it wastes time. All right. I'm just going to cut this in half. Trying to mesh it all together. Smooth out any roughs. Just sink it together. If you missed last week when I started this, the John Carter of Mars. I was grabbing parts and pieces from my base mesh here, and then just my basic mannequin that I built. So in case you missed it, this is how I assembled it. And since I'm here, might as well just grab some toes. We're going to change this up and make it look different. But as a base, it works out nice to start with. First thing, you got to pop it into place. I actually like the weird ankle that I've got going on here. This is a happy accident, but I'm going to stick with it. So that means all I need to do is just get rid of the toes. We'll take this guy, delete that. We'll just use this part. Bam. A lot of different ways I could mess with this. Use deformers or whatever. But I'm just going to go with the classic move brush. Just warp things into place. Melt this on there. Hello, Alan. Welcome. I'm using ZBrush. This is a very customized workspace that I built. So this is not what it's going to look like when you open it up. And I've been using ZBrush for 12 years now. I'm trained in Maya and other 3D software. But fell in love with ZBrush. I like these weird, nubby little fingers. I think weird nubs are just fun to sculpt. You want to create a little joint there for that third digit. take it, bend it. Like maybe the ring finger would be the weird digit. There are other animals that I could pull from as well. There are maybe like some koala bear. Koala bears have double thumbs, which would be cool. Maybe like a tiny vestigial thumb. And I'm going to take this and basically just cram a sphere in there because I need like some webbing between, the thumb and the forefinger. So I'm just going to cram any little sphere in there. That just got out of control. Most of the time, just drawing it on, smashing it in place is all you need. Learning Maya in school before I had to leave, and now I'm trying to learn Blender, but ZBrush looks interesting. Well, ZBrush is an industry standard brush or tool, so it's used in all kinds of fields. Used in toys, video games, film, whatever it is. Blender, of course, is free, so it's a great program to learn on. At some point, you will likely be using ZBrush. It's just there's just sculpting that you can do in it. In my experience, much faster than Blender. I have not done like a deep dive into Blender sculpting, and I've seen people pull off great stuff. Okay, so now the hand is starting to kind of come together. I didn't realize I had sculptures turned on. That's fine. And we're going to Dynamesh. We're just going to commit, weld it all together. That groups turn on. Yeah, Substance Painter you're going to use for sure. You are absolutely, like, Substance became standard pretty quick. And I think that's just because artists are going to always gravitate to what's technically easier for them. Like if you can make it, if you can make a tool that does a job very quickly and well, thank you. It's going fun. We're going to keep working on it. Important to finish what you start. Because that's how you build a portfolio. It can be real easy to quit or to, chase another shiny idea. But you got to finish what you start. Okay. Not having back face mask on is hurting me. So I need to fix it. So a little inflate for the knuckles and the joints. A little bit of volume there. Make sure this all gets merged together. I'm just going to split off the claws for now. Okay. Hey, Michael. Yeah, with Maxon, ZBrush, I don't know, because I don't know anybody at Maxon. So I do know Ofair and I know Paul and I like and I trust them both. We just have to see what they do with the what decisions they make. Just go from that. Personally, I think there are going to be, one benefit is that they pour money into development, right? Add more developers, add more, whatever they need, because even as a legacy user, I think we can agree that ZBrush needs some updates, make it competitive. I personally, I've tried jumping into Blender, and I know there's some people who are really good and fast with it. I've just not committed that kind of time yet to really diving in deep. But what I've found in watching tutorial videos and watching other people sculpt with Blender is that it is just not as fast as ZBrush, and that's because there are just tools that are not in Blender that ZBrush has. Some things that I would like to see. So, like, I'm sure if I dedicated enough time to it, I would get more confident with it, and I would like to do that. My schedule does not really permit, because like when I'm on a job, you got to be on the job. It's not the time to like mess around with new software. You got to. This is why we pick up stuff so late. So I've not dedicated enough time. Maybe with this project, this is kind of something that I can bring in to Blender and kind of mess around with. So I might do that. You might get to watch me mess up in Blender. There are other projects that I think would be perfect for me to take into Blender. I have a couple ideas. I think Blender's really great for environment and stuff as well. So it just depends. It's a tool, and a tool is a tool, and eventually, like, whatever becomes the best tool is what I'll learn and dedicate my time to. I'm gonna resolve these hands. Just make sure that there's enough volume to support the hand that I'm building. I've done some stuff on Blender. I've tried. What I found is, if I just use ZBrush and Blender in tandem and just use Blender as a renderer, it's great. For me, it's just fast to just send stuff over to Keyshot, because I can just one button look at it and be like, Yeah, I mean, like, I wish ZBrush would just do what Nomad does, which is, just have BPR materials in there, because I think that would be ideal. Because the biggest problem I've come up with against ZBrush is just it can be hard to read what the forms are doing. And I've noticed other clients have that issue as well. So if you send them just a ZBrush snapshot like this, we can read it because we're artists. We're good at that stuff. But if you send it to a layman or someone who's just not into this world, it can be a little tough for them to read the form. That's what I found. So I wonder if that's where Maxon would want to take it. Because that's what I would do. Now I know some of this legacy code inside of ZBrush is part of the reason why it's so ingrained in, but I'm just finding the knuckles here and finding the form of the knuckles. And what I do is I just make a strong kind of beeline for the joint, and then just softly smooth it down. And then I might go over it with some Damien Standard. And if you want it to feel like there are veins in there, I'll use a little Damien Standard, and I'll cut like these little every other, I don't know how to describe it. These like little pockets, these divots in here. So there's bone in here, but there's also vein and tissue. Trying to keep an eye on the silhouette as well. Got some lines for the wrist. Map out the shape of the palm. And then finding the knuckle on the other side. And cutting the lines across in the palm here. Again, I'm using like 5 brushes total. Favorite feature in the latest update. Let's see. I haven't gotten to use it yet, but the home and target stage with the interpolation inside of the I haven't gotten to use that yet. But I think that's really smart for hard surface stuff. Getting this like bulge in the knuckle, which is not intentional, but it's kind of cool. I'm going to sculpt that down. Here. Just love this guy's face. It's fun when you forget about your reference down here. And then every so often you look down and you're like, ah. So somewhere between like this guy and this guy, our snub-nosed monkey and our eye. I didn't have symmetry on. This is why I mirror and weld. Make sure I have my symmetry on. Finding the other side of the knuckle on each of these fingers, kind of accentuating the shape of the joint. Now I'm going to mask this guy. I'm going to shrink it down. That's why you got to check when you're masking stuff. So, see, come here. Even though it's all messed up right there, I'm not worried about it. Just scale it down. However you got to brute force it. Smooth down the wrist. Find the shape of the palm. Spend a lot of time on the hands just because this guy's got some big old flappy hands, so we gotta, spend some time on them. Tonight. Yeah, this guy is our bad boy. He's a mean little guy. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and give him some pit webs, some armpit webs. So to do that, I'm just going to grab curved surface. Boom. And to do that, just drag 1, drag 2. You can see it creates them. It's really super thick. Oh. There we go. So it responds to your brush size, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to, I don't need the thickness anyway. So I've got that. I'm going to split mask hit. All right. Now I've got these guys. Yeah, like a night. I like that. Daddy long legs. What's up, David? Good to see you, man. All right. So throw in a little edge right there and then delete everything else. I just need a flat plane. So when dealing with really thin tissues like wings or webbing, whatever it is, I like to work flat for as long as possible and then use thickness later. I'm going to find some better. Not that one. Recovering from a Marvel job? Nice. Nice, dude. Well, enjoy that time off. Those really intense gigs, they'll take it out of you. I don't experience that so much on the design side because my job's long over before you guys get to it. So all I have to deal with are deadlines. Woo! Good luck. So I've got these little arm webbies. I don't know if I'll keep it, but it's kind of fun. Turn on double-sided. Makes sense if it would come down further. So I'm just going to add geometry as I need it. Stretch it on down. Come on down. Yeah, it makes sense to have like a web at the pits too. There we go. I don't want to give him forearms. I thought about it, but it's too. I mean, I've seen it with the Avatar forearm. So I'm just gonna keep it simple. Yeah, hairless flying squirrel man. You see, I'm keeping it with like no thickness at all. Yeah, just nasty. Sick nasty. And then, okay, that works. So I'm just going to remesh it. Boop. Done. And then remesh it again. That's very intense music. I'm going to have it this time. Boop. Boop. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, topology does not matter anymore. You just need to hit the button as many times as possible, and that's it. We're not going to fuse this into the body just yet. Makes sense that it would follow like the line of his back too. It goes to his little butt. Goes to a little creature butt. You ever wondered if creature designers spend a lot of time thinking about creature butts? You're right. We do. We think about creature butts all day. It's a big part of the job. And this right about at the wrist. I want him to be able to use his fingers. Different than a bat. More like flying squirrel. It's a monkey butt. Yeah, maybe I give him like one of those mandrill butts that like gets really inflated. That's for mating. Anytime there's like webbed creature arms, it's just always satisfying. It's not like it's more of a glider, it'll just like glide long distances. All right. Time to add some thickness. Okay, so I think I'm ready to go ahead and fuse all this body stuff together. And then I'm going to work on the toes, make the toes a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to start welding the major elements together, since I've got that pretty much like locked in. Only thing don't have yet is the hand. No, they're in there. Oops. I have delete hidden set to a hotkey, so I'm deleting that stuff, even though you don't see it. All right, it's pretty much done. Time to like fuse them together. Add some more sinew to the legs, and then we'll give them a monkey butt, and then some more details, some wrinkles on the skin. I'm actually moving pretty quick. Lauren's Lair, how's it going? Thank you. How are you doing? I don't ask that enough of you guys. Like, how are you guys? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is staying safe. And you're watching cool stuff. Or playing cool video games. Or you've got a cool project that you're working on. I hope you guys want to make monsters. Let's see. What am I watching right now? Oh, The Witcher. That's what I'm watching, season 2. And I am thoroughly enjoying all the creatures in that. Man, make some art. Today was portfolio day. Always working, never stopping. I'm going to do, I have some more ideas for the stream, as far as like other creatures I want to sculpt, other things I want to do. I also want to do some stuff that's out of my comfort zone, so you guys get to watch that. Because right now, this is like total comfort zone stuff. This is like, I don't even have to think about it. It's just kind of, it's just total, with ease. That's only because I've done like a lot of these. I am a monster too, David. We all are. There's a monster in every one of us. Yeah, nice butt. You got to sculpt a nice butt first. That's why this stream is on at night. Notice that when I'm sculpting, particularly some organic stuff, I don't do like straight lines like this. If you're observant, you'll notice I'm a little loose and a little sketchy with it. I don't know. This is probably not the way you want to sculpt. I don't know, but it just keeps me from being like mechanical with it. When I'm doing mechanical sculpting, then you want to be very deliberate. Burp. Then you make that line. That's it. But with organics, I like to be a little bit loose with everything. Get the obliques. lower abdominals. It's going to be a family show, so we're going to cover this up with some hair. So you won't even see it. Don't even think about it. Jared, if you're going to sculpt the butt, shouldn't you sculpt the other stuff? Probably. Okay. So what I've done is just fused the waist and pelvis together. And I'm just kind of loosely sketching over things with clay buildup. Very, very loose. And then I just fuse it all down together. And what this creates is kind of some secondary, tertiary forms of like fat. You know, if you've ever rubbed a dog's belly, you'll notice that like there's little pockets of fat in there. I am using I'm using a tablet, so I'm using a Cintiq. My Cintiq is set on a swivel head, so this is nice. What's nice about this is it allows the full range of motion from my shoulder to my elbow to my wrist. When I use a tablet, there's less range of motion from the it's just primarily from the elbow to the wrist. And if you want to use your shoulder, you have to crane it out and like use your whole shoulder that way. So I found the Cintiq is much more comfortable. I've wrecked my wrist on a tablet. Just burned my wrists out. So from that point, I recommend the Cintiq. This one's old, so this one has lasted me a long time. I've had this one maybe 5-6 years. So just trying to create some like pockets of fat so it doesn't look perfect. And just building up forms, smoothing it down. And then once I've got these, then I'll start adding like more wrinkles. It'll get pretty gnarly as we go. I think I have some mole rat in here somewhere. I don't have any mole rat. Shame on me. Let me get some mole rats. I know I talked about it. Got to get some mole rats. Come here. There we go. Oh, phew. I was worried. Yeah, that's the goods. That's the good stuff right there. Look at those pores. Oh, his teeth are cool too. Yeah, just nasty mole rats. Very, very cool. All right. So next, you put edits in portfolio for Gnomon admissions. You're gonna need to talk to someone from Gnomon for that. For your portfolio, I'm sure if you're in contact with someone, they'll probably tell you it's fine. Is this Cintiq like a whole computer? No. I do have a machine. So this is my machine over here. It's a tank, an absolute beast, because I got sick of dealing with computers that could not keep up with what I needed. So this has a 3090 in it. Super cool, and it talks to me in my sleep. It's very cool. So yeah, I'm running on a beast. Still working on the chest here. See, once I've got the shape in, the job becomes kind of like taking some of the harsh kind of planar lines out. So now I'm fusing everything together. I'm just blending the anatomy in. For most of this, I've sculpted with like 2-3 brushes, 4 maybe max. Do I listen to music? Over time, I've watched whole shows. I just watch movies and TV all day. So I've watched every possible show on the planet. I do listen to music. It depends on like what. So I go through cycles of like I'll watch a movie. I'll listen to a show. I'll watch tutorials. I go through phases. Right now, I'm in a movie TV show phase. So I'm just going through all of Witcher. I just finished all of Cobra Kai. It's more of like listening to stories and listening to movies. Just doing that all day. And then I'll go through stages where I'll listen to a lot of music, for usually a couple days in a row. And then I'll go through stages where I want to learn stuff. I just want to absorb information. So I'll watch tutorials on pretty much everything, even though I don't get a chance to like a Houdini tutorials. Like I don't have time to sit and watch, and learn Houdini, but I'll throw on a tutorial about Houdini. I'm never going to use it, but I like learning about it. So I'll do that, and I'll watch tutorials on other stuff, storyboarding. I watch Blender tutorials. I watch everything. I try to watch a tutorial a day, even if it's just like one thing. And that just kind of helps me, I don't know, just keep curious and keep hungry. I watched the whole thing in Unreal 5. As a Gnomon instructor and a Gnomon streamer, I get access to the Gnomon library. So I do watch a lot of tutorials on that. All kinds of topics, digital painting. You just never know where like things, where that information comes in handy later. Right now I'm sculpting this triangular muscle on the armpit. That is called the corobrachialis. It makes a little triangle shape. Your pectoralis, the actual pec here, the pec inserts right here at the deltoid. So it's kind of like it makes a band, and then it fans out to the sternum where it's attaching. So I'll do a little attachment there. So I love sculpting the corobrachialis. It's just really fun. Just a nice, fun little muscle to sculpt. Along with the brachoradialis, which is also a fun muscle. It's also super fun to say. Brachoradialis. It's just awesome. What a cool name for a muscle. If you want to sculpt creatures, you have to uh, you just have to love anatomy, because you're going to sculpt anatomy over and over and over again. So you got to learn to love it. But I actually love it. It's really fun to learn anatomy. And there's new things you can keep learning about anatomy too. You can dive deeper and deeper. Yeah, as an instructor at Nomen, and I've been teaching at Nomen for 8 years now. 8 years. I I do it because I learn just as much from students, like watching how they grow. It reminds me, like, oh man, I gotta keep doing this myself. I gotta keep pushing myself. There's always new things to learn. So yeah, I love teaching. I went a little too harsh on this shape here, so I'm just knocking this down. And when I do listen to music, I go through phases. Sometimes I like really just stupid, sugary pop, And then other times I like hardcore metal. I just like, sometimes you need an emotion to drive you. If I'm doing like a particularly wicked creature, or like a hardcore, something kind of hardcore, you got to go dark. I'll go dark with the music. So music can be a very powerful tool for creation, as I'm sure most of you know. Okay, I got to work on the legs more. The torso is always really fun, but I got to get to the legs now. So I'm just gonna hide the rest of this, group it together. Do I use other softwares? Yeah. I mean, when I'm playing around with stuff, I'll pick up new softwares. I just bought Marmoset. I was watching Josh Herman's stream where he was using Marmoset, and that got me curious. I was like, oh shoot, I'll just get Marmoset and try it out. So hoping to, at least on this project, maybe try it out. Normally, I spend all my time in ZBrush and Keyshot. Still the fastest method for my workflow. Okay, get those inner thigh muscles. I group this together, cut it in half, solo this out. That way, I'm just working on one leg, and I'm not worried about the middle. I do need reference for this. I should be looking at reference. But right now, I know what I need to do, so I'm just gonna do it. Carve out a little heel. Ankle. Tarsals. Deep bones of the foot. I'm just going to find the metatarsals. Shrink this toe down. We're going to make it more of a raptor-like toe. Yeah, music is very, very powerful for getting your emotions, because art, creating art is an emotion. You're putting emotions into it, and you're feeling emotions while you're working on it. So might as well get some music. Makes you feel good. Use it as a driver. I shrunk down the toes as they existed because we're gonna sculpt some new ones. Kind of mimicking the foot or the fingers. So I'm gonna go with more padded. So I'm creating little toe pads around them. I'm also thinking of geckos in my mind as I'm doing this, which could help it stick to surfaces. So not something that would look dog-like or something like that, but just adding different animal ingredients in there. Okay. I've got this weird ankle in here where it's kind of cocked off to the side like this. I'm going to actually mess with the little anatomy here and break some rules. So the ankle is coming off this side, so the ankle would be on this side. That hinge right there. And maybe there's a dew claw or something coming out the back, like the gargoyle toe. This is your first time joining Creature Corner, welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun. Okay. Now, getting the calf muscle in there. So finding that line of separation from the calf muscle to the tibia. And it makes a straight shot as it turns into the Achilles tendon. You get that kind of gap as it hits the calcaneum, which is your heel bone. Heel bone here. And whole time I'm just always keeping an eye on the silhouette. Okay. And break the knee, shape of the knee up. Just kind of three like notches on the knee. Sculpting the tibia, which is sitting, and the knee right here. The knee is sitting on the tibia. The patella, that is. Okay. The medial quad. Sartorius, which is traveling from the iliac crest all the way down. It makes a very cool like band. It travels all the way down as it attaches to the tibia down here. I'm just trying to create that line. All the way up to the iliac crest. Just follow that shape. Inner thigh muscles here. Again, I'm not using a lot of like new brushes. So it's like just simplify your workflow. Okay, the glute traveling down, becoming the iliotibial band. Got to find that great trochanter in here. So I'm just going to block it out. And then gluteus muscles. And I tend to over sculpt the muscle and then melt it down. It's okay to have some wrinkles in there, so don't worry about making your, making the shapes perfect. Often, if you try to really carve out the shape, it makes it feel mechanical. So to get rid of that feeling of making a mechanical muscle, kind of add some sketchy lines in there. Right? Just be a little uneven about it. Okay. Redefining the iliac crest. And the pelvis here. But also really nice to sculpt this way, which is, I'm just working on one leg. So I'm not thinking about, I'm not trying to take in other information. So like, I'm not thinking about the arms, for example, while I'm working on the legs. I'm just working on the legs. So sometimes by focusing the lens, so to speak. Okay. Rectus femoris, muscle traveling down the middle, which makes a little football shape, top to bottom. Kind of butts up against the sartorius. I've had sculptors on this whole time, not a big deal. Okay. This rectus femoris kind of travels down to the knee, turns into a tendinous band, which attaches to the patella, your kneecap. That guy's attaching there, and he acts like a pulley to pull the knee up. Now I'm over sculpting the muscle, and then I'll bring it down again and kind of nuke it all together, soften that all up. Sartorius here. Makes a really cool, line flowing down the leg. And all attaches here. It's pretty cool. All right, let's bring everything back, mirror it over. Okay, so I've over sculpted the muscle. Now I can smooth it down I'm going to turn off Sculptress, re-Dynamash it to even out that topology. Now I can just stuff over it with clay buildup to blend that anatomy together so it doesn't look over sculpted, right? There's skin sitting on top of the muscle. Okay. Very, very tense music. Okay, so it's starting to come together. Thinking about that arch of the spine, because it's really, I wanted him to have a really, really long spine like this sloth here. Where are you at, sloth buddy? Check out that long spine. Let's rotate him around like that. There you go. Look at that thing. That is a long spine. So you can see where I'm kind of adapting that. And he's also got a really long pelvis, so I'm going to bring that in. So I've kind of started with human anatomy first, and then I just have to move it around a little bit, and then suddenly it's, you know, weird animal anatomy. So he's got a really long pelvis. This is how we start getting weird with it. How's everybody doing? The chat's been quiet. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. I'm one of those people that I always have to have a tea with me. Some kind of delicious tea. Okay, long pelvis. So I'm going to stretch out that rib cage a little bit more. I'm drinking a honey vanilla chamomile, right? Because nothing says creatures like honey and vanilla. Now he's got some like floating ribs down there. It's a long, skinny, weird boy. It is quite lovely. I love tea. I love coffee. But I can't do too much coffee because you get the jitters. So tea is just the right amount of pep. Yeah, Michael. Michael was saying knowledgeable. I'm knowledgeable about anatomy, and that's just memorization. So just over and over again. Repetition. So if you learn what the muscle is and then you repeat it as you're working, it helps sink it in there. So, you know, when you first start sculpting, you gotta, you know, you have to learn where everything is. But then as I work, I repeat it to myself. And just that kind of action, you know, just, you know, because the brain needs repetition. That's how we learn. In advertising, they said it like takes, they'll say the product name at least 7 times to get it into your head. So repetition is how brains work. And I was an actor. I was a theater kid So I had to memorize lines. So you memorize lines, sometimes huge monologues, blocks of dialogue, by repetition. You have someone repeat them to you. You write them out. You do an écorché. So anytime you want to learn something, repeat it over and over and over again. Because what you're doing is you're building neural pathways. So neural pathways work like this, right? You have two neurons. Come here, right? You have two neurons, right? And as you're formulating ideas, this is very rough, you know, but they have little branches that come off of them, and when you form an idea, they make a little kiss. They go, and they connect, and so that's how you start building a neural pathway in your brain. And as you continue to have the same thought, that neural pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger because you're reinforcing that neural pathway. And over time, you're building new neurons and you're building new pathways, and they just, they web together. And this happens in three-dimensional space, so they're, traveling all over the place. So you're building these neural pathways. So if you do the same thing over and over again, you build up that neural pathway. Now, the downside is that if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So if you ignore that pathway, it eventually, starts to disappear because your brain wants to be energy efficient. So your brain's not going to store information that you don't need. So all the time, your brain is making and destroying these connections. And that's what knowledge is, right? It's just repetition. Now, some people, they have a propensity for building up information in the brain. They just store it for longer. They store it faster than other people do. And that's kind of like how we quantify intelligence, is just the rapid accessibility of information in your brain. And this is why, the brain loves to specialize too. The brain loves to specialize. So if you start training your brain for something, you do that for a specific amount of time, you build up expertise in that subject. And that's what knowledge is, kids. And so that's how you build it up. You got to just repeat it. You got to do it over and over and over again. You've heard it expressed in other ways as well. 10,000 hour rule, right? That's the one that we kind of all understand. Blargo Blarby! That's right. Blargo Barbie. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Yes. So we're working on this guy. He's starting to come together. What I've done is I've, throughout this session, I've synced everything together. And we're just starting to define some kind of secondary and tertiary characteristics on top of him. So now his body's coming together. Get that butt. The wrinkles. Sartorius. Yeah. And go where your curiosity is. Like if there's a subject that you are particularly interested and passionate about, go where that leads you. Follow that instinct. We're all wired differently. We all want different things. I love creatures. I love creatures and monsters and horror. I also love, cartoons. All right, so now working on the back here, probably ready to give him a little tailbone. So I'm just going to mask out this area. Have to blur, and I'm just going to pull it out. Just a little tailbone here. Let's see. So just pulling out a little tailbone, not a big one, but just like maybe at one point he had a bigger tail than he does now. And I'm just going to re-Dynamesh. Take out the rest of the kind of clay lines, the clay buildup. Yeah, I read. I worked at a bookstore, so I've read a lot of Malcolm Gladwell, and I've read some other a lot of books. I'd take them home on my break, and then So I've read a lot, which is cool. It was a cool time. It was a cool time to just that was a time when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. So question is, did I transition into being a concept artist, or did I start as one? What was my inspiration to do concept art? Funny is that when I went to Gnomon, because in addition to being an instructor, I'm an alumnus as well. I graduated in 2010. I did the CG certificate, so that was just the 2-year program. That was before they added the BFA and all that other stuff. Had they added the BFA while I was there, I probably, I would have stayed for it. I absolutely wanted to do the BFA. But I knew I wanted to be a concept artist because I didn't really know that I didn't know, one, that CG was like a job, like a life, like you could go do this as a career. So this was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, going on 13, I think, because I attended Gnomon in 2009. So I didn't know, all my understanding of CGI was very vague. I just knew that it was something I wanted to learn, and that it was something that was, very prominent in the, in the film industry. So obviously things were, going more towards VFX and not away from it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to learn VFX. That way I can have a job. I can get I can make a life. And I was in 5th term. I was taking Jared Morance's creature class. It was a class it was production design, and it was one of the required courses for the certificate. The generalist program at the time was broken up into you take a little bit of everything in that class. So I took a little animation, I took a little this, took texturing, took compositing, things like that. And so they made us try everything. And that's when that's when I kind of, for the first time, I sat in a production design class with Hung Lee and Jared Morantz, and that's when I went, oh, this is what I want to do. So just having an open mind is what brought me into concept art. I didn't know diddly about it, really. But Jared Morantz was working at Aaron Sims' company at the time, and they said they were looking for an intern. I shot my hand up. I said, yo, right here. And then a week later, I was interning with Jared Morantz at Aaron Sims' company. And I stayed at Aaron Sims for 7 years. And I started just by cleaning up the servers and their references. So looking at their reference folder. Oh, yeah. David said he worked with Hong. And that's just how small this industry is. Everybody knows everybody. So yeah, it was kind of by sheer happenstance. Now, prior to Gnomon, I taught myself Photoshop. I was drawing a lot. I knew that I wanted to. I was acting as well. I was doing plays and a lot of local theater, but it dawned on me that like acting is not going to pay my bills. And so I was drawing, I grew up drawing as well. So I thought, well, if the acting's not going to pay my bills, maybe the art will pay my bills. And I ended up being right about that. So funny, it's just funny how things turn out. And I got more interested, on things that were going, behind the camera as opposed to in front of it. I was more interested in writing and drawing and designing and creating. So concept art, I didn't really know that was the name for it. I just kind of happened into it, and I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I happened to just be in a class with Jared Morantz, who is a great friend and a great influence on my work, obviously. And so it's been a journey. That's kind of how we talk about it, is just accidents, happy accidents. Now the landscape is totally, different. It's shifted. So you got, there were no gum roads when I was starting. There were Gnomon videos, but I did not know about the Gnomon videos. I only knew Gnomon because my cousin recommended it. He was working in video games, and so I asked him. I was like, "Do you know where I can go learn this stuff?" Only by luck, and now I'm 12 years in, and done more, than I ever thought was possible. So it's a incredible journey. You just have to be open and willing to a little serendipity. Say yes when opportunities come up. Listen to your instincts as well. Another fun fact was that I was actually training with I was getting physical therapy, and so I was seeing my trainer, and we happened, we were moving around gyms. We would stay at one gym for a while, and then we'd try out another gym, based on whatever his kind of his schedule is like. And we happened to be training at Gold's Gym, which was on the other side of Noman. So when I found out about Noman and found out about the location, I was like, oh my God, it's on the other side of the gym that I've been going to for like 6 months. So like total did not know that was there. So it's, again, happy accidents, dumb luck, whatever you want to call it. Serendipity. So just be open. And now I sculpt creatures and work on awesome shit all day. It's a dream. There we go. So overall, on this guy, I've managed to get kind of all the anatomy synced together, so it's all one object now. I need to work on the underside of the feet here, but I'm going to sculpt some pads as well, kind of like some rough animal pads. Maybe on the other side here, you might know them as toe beans. I'm going to sculpt some toe beans. Some animals, there's a very visible separation from the foot to that toe bean. So being observant as well. Building a visual library in your head. And then, yeah, I've been very, very, very lucky in my career. You know, there's still a lot more that I want to do, that I want to make. But that's all, that's all of us. I want to try and direct a short. So, talking about that. I've already written it, storyboarded it. Just moving on to the next stage with that, which is just scheduling, planning. Go get those toe beans. And this will look a little bit different with the claws in there. Let's say I get into the school. Do I have to buy ZBrush? Well, ZBrush will be a part of the software that you get when you go there. So you'll have computers that you'll learn ZBrush on. At the height of COVID, they were they would not rent them out, but they would give students machines. So students would, check out machines to take home, and these machines would have everything on them, all the software you needed. So that's how I learned. Eventually, as I broke off into freelancing, you need to buy your own software. The plus side is that the software is it's tax deductible as a part of what you do, so you can write that off on your taxes. So all your software, anything related to your career or field. So how many things are related to CG? Lots of stuff. Now, obviously, you want to get a good CPA to talk about these things with, but it's all, everything that you buy, which is related to your career field, is tax deductible, at least in the United States. Now, there are, I think, limitations to how much you can deduct per year. Again, that's something for your CPA to talk to you about. But yeah, as a freelancer, you will need to, you should own your own software and charge rates that, are industry standard. David, it's a live action short with a creature. My hope is to get the creature made practically. And then we do a hybrid practical with CGI augmentation on top of that. Oh, shoot, man. I might hit you up. That tax info, David. I might hit you up. We have somebody who we like, but if you know somebody better, that's always the key. The short film, yeah, and chances are I'll do some sculpting on the creature on the stream, just for fun. Just because I need to do some, I have it pretty blocked out. I just need to do some more work on it, so I might do that on the stream and use it as a production diary. But my wife is a producer. She's produced web shorts and other stuff. She's worked in the industry for a number of years. So I begged her for produce my short, please. Help me make this thing. And so she agreed. Are you allowed to pirate ZBrush? I would say try it out first. Try it out first, or just learn Blender because it's free. Just go, do things the right way, and maybe get it now before Maxon changes the surface. Also, you can get Nomad on iPad, which is also it's a really great little program. Yeah, the technical career answer is no pirating. But so yes. It's just learn off Blender. It's free, and there's like a ton of tutorials already for it. So just stay with Blender. A tool is a tool. I mean, really. That's it. Okay, there we go. So the anatomy is starting to sync together. I'm just spending little bits of time on every area. I'm just kind of focusing in on one area at a time. So, and a lot of this is muscle memory. So just I've sculpted a lot of this over the years for demos. Short will be fun. I already came up with the creature in 2020. I was just kind of sculpting it for fun, just as an experiment, and then I ended up writing a story around this creature later on. So sometimes I just come up, I'll just design something, and then other times, I'll write a story first. Let's see. So it was this guy. So I did this guy just for fun, just to do it. It just kind of, this guy was kind of born out of frustration. And then about 6 months later, I came up with an idea for a short film around it. And so I wrote it over the span of like 2 months. It's like 10 minutes. And then I storyboarded it over like another month. Now I'm kind of in a holding period, as I wait for my wife's schedule to free up. She's working in the industry as well, so she actually does real work. Like, she has a real job. I make ridiculous nonsense. She's actually got real skills. Her job is tough. She's a production supervisor, so a lot of people don't realize the skills required to do any kind of movie, film, TV show. So her job is extremely tough, very, very tough job. But my wife is incredibly proficient and good at her job. So that's why I wanted to produce my stuff. I'm like, here, make something silly and dumb with me. Let's make a little monster movie. Let's see. Yeah, is Mechagodzilla your favorite creature that I've made so far? Well, he's not a creature; he's a robot. But he is my favorite design that I've done so far. I loved working on it. Both times that I worked on Mechagodzilla, I loved it. I was, when I worked on it for Ready Player One, it was a really awesome experience because I was surrounded by all my friends. And we just had a blast working on that show. And then the second time, when I was working on Godzilla vs. Kong, they told me it was going to be Mechagodzilla, and I went, oh my God. I was like, I did MG for Ready Player One. And so that actually made it harder. It made it more challenging because I was like, well, surely I'm not going to get it through this time. Right. How many times do you get a Mechagodzilla, on screen? And so, it was insane that they went for it. So, and I'm so excited that people love him, and that some people were a little iffy on him in the beginning, iffy on the design in the beginning, but I feel like people have really come around. There's people really love it now. I see little drawings of him, pop up, and people have sent me, toys that they've made of him. So it's, so it's awesome, man. It's more than I ever expected that I would do. I think one of my favorite creatures that I worked on was Pete's Dragon. I really love that movie. I was really happy with the art. I felt like that work that I was doing for it, I grew, and that's kind of what I measure a project by. Is like if I feel like I've grown doing the work. So there are times when I'm doing a project and I feel like I've leveled up. You can kind of feel it in your bones. Or you're working on it and you're like, hey, maybe I do know what I'm doing here. So Pete's Dragon was one of those, and Mechagodzilla for GVK was one of those. I felt like I grew on that a lot. I produced a lot of images in a very short period of time, and so I was pleased with my output. I felt like I pitched ideas in the room, and they got good reception. So it felt like I had the right experience at the right time, and that's awesome. So very, very, very lucky, very wild. Did I do? Yeah, people are cosplaying as Mechagodzilla, like they're building it. Like that is just insane. I have a toy on my desk. I'm like, oh, I thought about this part, like in my brain. It's weird because you remember things when you work on stuff. I'm sure animators or compositors are like, oh man, I remember I was having a hard time on this shot, or and then you look at it, and then suddenly it just goes off into film history, and you're on to the next thing, and it either takes on a life of its own or it doesn't. It's very, very wild. Yes, I did Mechagodzilla in ZBrush. So just ZBrush and Keyshot. Same process for everything. I don't experiment with new software unless it really calls for it. I had a project where they came in, they needed some characters for some really fine fur. So that's when I took it into Maya and XGen. And that's when I taught myself XGen for that one particular show. But I haven't used it since, but now I'm like, okay, now I know I can take something into XGen and render in Arnold if I need it. That is what's nice about the training, the Gnomon training that I've got. It just means that I'm comfortable, picking up new software if I need to. But most of the time, I'm just going to stay in, do what I know. PTSD and anime. Yeah. Yeah. Your experiences, working on a particular show will stay with you. It's really interesting. If you had a bad experience on a show, or all that stuff is carved into your brain. So, he's getting there. We're not quite ready for fleshy sculpting just yet, but we're getting close. Right now, all the anatomy has just kind of gotten much tighter, so it's all come together. So he's welded together. And actually, what I'll do is I'm going to save it. So I do this for my class and my students when I'll kind of take them through how I built it. But I'll show you where we started and where we are now. All right. So this is where we started, which is still in blockout stage, still like in mannequin stage, where it's just built in different parts and pieces. Now, and now he's welded together. And the anatomy is kind of sunk in. Next stage is I need to kind of beef him up just a little bit in the arms. And then I need to start adding eyes and nails. I have the webbing for the skin right here. I need to weld that into the body as well. And then I can start doing wrinkles, kind of like what we see here, and take that to the next level. But that is for another journey. So I think might as well just start carving in some eyes. Total point count for this is under 2 million. So you don't need a lot of geometry. And I find that students get a little overzealous with how much topology they need. So that's one thing that they, it's like, hey, what's cool is 50 million polys. You don't need that. Start low and build up as you need more geometry. So I call it my low to high, simple to complex, right? Start low and then build up geometry as you need it. So now building in the orbital sockets here. There's also something that I need to do that was in the just in my sketch that I want to make sure I put in. That's my brain. Oh, there. And I have this split going on right here, splitting up in the middle. I kind of want to keep that. So I'm gonna. That's something I don't have here. So I'm gonna just do that now. So it's coming from down here, and it's splitting up towards this triangle here, and it's actually carving in a little bit. So don't get married to your sculpt. If you want to change it, you can change it. So, and then this is kind of like fleshy tissue that would be exposed, kind of like a baboon's mouth. So even if you've done something that you like, don't worry about changing it. First year at university, I want to create models for like this in games, and I want to one day work at Bethesda. Very cool. How do you describe this profession, and what is its job title? I'm a 3D modeler, 3D sculptor, creature artist. But I am primarily focused on concept art. So I'm a concept artist. That's what I call myself. That's how I kind of advertise my work. But the skills required are just 3D modeling, 3D sculpting. If you're looking to, join Bethesda, likely you will be a junior artist, a junior 3D modeler. And you can kind of go general and then go to specific later. So just start as a 3D modeler. And then just find an area of the industry that you love, like something that you enjoy doing. And then go from there. So I wanted to focus on concept art because for me, once the design is resolved, then I kind of lose interest. So for production design or production modeling, you're going to be working on the same model for like months at a time. So you'll likely get assigned a character. You'll work on that character for months at a time, possibly. Because you're going to be the one doing topology and UVs and baking and all of that stuff. So that's it. Like for me, I sculpt a creature out, or a creature or costume. I'm also a part of the costume union. as an illustrator. So I will illustrate a costume or whatever it is, and then I hand off the model that I've built, and then I'm done. I'm on to the next thing. So that works for me because I don't really want to do topology and UVs for months on a time. Production art, being a part of production it's a much different mindset. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm a sprinter. I am definitely. I'm also sometimes called a concept modeler. So things like that. Now I can do topology and UVs because I'm trained to do that. But is that what I'm going to advertise that I do? Not really. I wanted to do concept art because I felt like I had ideas to contribute. And as a concept artist, you're going to be coming up with a lot of ideas and a lot of options. So you just have to, understand that that's what the job is. Just coming up with lots and lots of options. And that's definitely something I could show in this process, like show how I, do different heads, things like that. I thought about it, just cut off the head, do some options with it. But I'm just gonna, since I've sketched it out and I'm already kind of committed to this guy, I'm just gonna press forward with him anyway. So to become a concept artist, it's better to start as a CG generalist. I think so. Just get your foot in the door in the industry, and then you can tailor your portfolio to the thing you want to do. So start at a small studio because small studios need people. Start it as a small studio and do whatever it takes to kind of get your foot in the door. And then while you're working and making money, then you can tailor your portfolio for the thing that you want to do. So that's that's what I recommend is like get a job because everybody needs somebody to do UVs and topology and scene layout and scene assembly and stuff like that. Do some grunt work. And then while you're doing that and you're, making a living for yourself, then you can focus on the things that you want to do. That's just my thoughts on it. It's not necessarily, you have to do it this way. If you really want to do something and that's the only thing you're going to do, by all means, do that thing and get really good at it and then present your portfolio. That's really what it all comes down to at the end. Oh, I'm glad I could help. I'm using a Cintiq and a pen. So you're just going to get better results with the pen. Because nothing like brain to hand to brain coordination. Do I smoke once in a while to brainstorm ideas? I used to, and then I had a kid, so I try not to do that anymore. Generally you need to be able to be creative on a whim. So it's creativity is a muscle, and imagination is a muscle. So the more you flex that muscle, the stronger it's going to get. So if you spend all day being creative, it doesn't require as much work. I used to smoke a lot, and it helps me with my anxiety. So I understand. There we go. See, now I've got that split down the middle, and that's much closer to my little sketchums there. Yeah, it helped me with my anxiety. So everybody's different. No judgment. Yeah. Now that skull is looking much more wicked in there. I'm gonna start plugging in those brows. They look angry. Remember, creatures are always pissed off. They're always mad. So I want to create that V shape. That's going to make them look really angry. So let's say I'm here, right? And I don't necessarily want to Dynamesh anymore because I don't really need to continue Dynameshing. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mask off the head, invert, and then hit Control D to subdivide. So now I've got more polys in the head to work with. Make sure I have that turned off. I'm probably ready. I want to start putting eyes in. Just going to grab some spheres. And these guys are blind. They have really poor vision, so their eyes are really large to take in a lot of light. I want those eyes to be pretty big. And a little bit wall-eyed. Maybe. Like predators, their eyes are facing forward so they can focus. Prey animals are, their eyes are lateral so they can, perceive a wide range, to look out for predators. This guy's got a little bit of both in there. He's going to look a little wall-eyed just because I like creatures that look wall-eyed and weird. Okay. And now that those spheres are in there, I need to wrap the socket around the sphere. I mean that zygomatic bone right here. Again, he's simian, so that's why I've got these kind of ears. He's kind of a simian bat hybrid creature. Weird skulls. Kind of a weird elongated skull, kind of pointy. All right. So now that I've got the eyes, I'm going to merge this down and put it into its own folder for eyes. And I'm going to start duplicating this a couple times just so I have some backups here. But now that I've got this guy, we're going to take this and we're going to start using ZModeler. And mask this off. I'm going to flatten this out. This. So hopefully this goes well. I'm going to bevel the edges. So I'm kind of rounding everything out, so we're going to make room for that iris. So this is going to be the sclera. And then we're going to extrude this in, this polygroup island. And we're going to bevel this as well. Apply. Bevel. Bevel the edge. There we go. Bevel that. Because I'm just trying to round it out. Bevel that. Bevel that. Lots of bevels. Okay, so now we've got a little kind of hole there. I'm going to push this in a little bit further. And we'll bevel this. Bevel. Bevelly. Lots of bevels. Okay, so now it's got, you know, a little bit of a depth in there. Yeah, Planet of the Apes version of Man-Bat. I love Man-Bat. Hello, Esteban. But do you UV your models before putting them into Keyshot? It depends on the circumstance. So sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. Whenever I UV, it's always just a really ugly UV. So I call it dirty UVs. So it's just a flatten out kind of roadkill the UVs. It depends on the circumstance. If I have a character or a face, you know, then I will have specific UVs on it. So every scenario is a little different. Most of the time, I will either poly paint and then just look dev in Keyshot, because I can just send stuff over very quickly, just like that. And that kind of, you know, I can texture inside of Keyshot as well. So everything, you know, it kind of depends. Those hands are big. I'm gonna have to. This is why I think I need more mass on the arms, just to support the you know, the weight of the fingers. So we'll see. And then I gotta put some eyes in there. So now for the eyes, I'm gonna rotate these out just a little bit. Now for these, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in another sphere. Watch this. Boom. I'm gonna put in a sphere, but I'm gonna split mass points, and instead of a sphere, I'm gonna pop this into the middle of the object, and I'm going to turn it to a torus or a ring 3D. So I've changed the transform type, and now with this, I can make it act like an iris. So I'm going to close this in. There we go. Just by squeezing in this cone, this kind of acts like a little iris here. And it's a little thick, so I'm going to squash that down and then pop that in there. Squash that down. Okay, so now I've got that torus squashed in there, and that's going to be our iris. I've got the sclera and the iris separate as separate objects. It depends on, like, sometimes how I build eyes. Every kind of instance is a little different. Sometimes I will I'll just leave it all one object. Sometimes I'll build it separate. Sometimes I'll build it in several parts. It depends on, like, speed, right? Do I need to paint over something? Do I need to just, am I going to texture over it in Keyshot? Every situation is a little different. Okay. So I'm just shrinking this down just a little bit. I'm just popping that in the square. Like in this case, I want to keep it, separate objects. Now that I've got that, now I need the outer eye. I'm scaling the outer eye up. And if it's a little wobbly around the eye, it doesn't really matter. Eyes are gelatinous anyway, so you can kind of get away with, it doesn't have to be a perfect sphere. I'm going to build up the skull around that orb. It's got to look like it wraps around that orb there. Then, for this, we're going to isolate this. Get this. Delete. Okay, so now I've got a hole there. And if I do this the right way, we'll find out. I'm going to take a half sphere now and draw it on. And I should just be able to weld it together if I do this right. Squashed a little bit down. So I get that corneal bulge. That half dome shape that was over the eye. Now I should be able to just, nope, not work. I think that's because I should have held control as I did it, I believe. Yeah. But that's okay. I'm not worried about that. Because the spans are kind of matching each other. Should be able to just line these up and just stitch to midpoint. Okay. Stitch to end. How about that? There we go. Because I don't want to do this on both, I'm just going to do this on half. Just stitch these guys in. A lot of ways I could do this that are probably better. Turn this to do nothing so it won't mess with me. There you go. Really doesn't take much to do this, so it's like just a little bit extra elbow grease. Not that much. And if it's a little off, it doesn't matter. Just there we go. Boop, 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 boop. There you go. So because they were all the same kind of span, it works. So now I've got the corneal bulge in there. And when you smooth that, that's when it shows up. But what I'm going to do is maybe delete these edges now. I'm going to bevel it. There we go. Now I've got a nice corneal bulge. And know how that guy got in there. Just delete it. So now I've got the eyes in there. But now I need eyelids. So I'm going to have to extract those off as well. Let's see. Pure Ref. Yep, that's what I'm using here. Doesn't have ZBrush have a bridge. It does have a bridge. I'm just too lazy to do it. Sometimes just you have to decide. You have to do a little calculus of like, okay, how do I do something? And then now it's got that zygomatic bone. Now we've got the eyes in there. The anatomy is welded together. I'm going to add some bulk to the arms to support the hands here. But I'm also going to pinch the hands down a little bit too. So to add bulk, even though like I've got all the anatomy together, I'm going to add some bulk just with some inflate. And just a little inflate will add that bulk we need. That's it. And to take down, I'll pinch. And then to add bulk, I'll inflate. Now it'll balloon the muscle, like it's like you can see it's kind of ballooning it. So you may have, you'll have to re-dynamesh and other, do stuff like that. Not a big deal. So get here's the ulna bone, here's the ulnar. We need to kind of emphasize the elbow. And then on the inside, there's this epicondyle. Epicondyle is kind of the little edge of the bone. So if you hit your funny bone, that's where that's happening. So at your epicondyle, that's because you're hitting this, ulnar nerve that wraps around the epicondyle, shoots its way down to the wrist. Now I'm at a point where I need to start creeping up on my resolution. So I'm just going to start doing that just a little bit more and dynamesh. So now I've got some more meat on the arms, just enough. And I'm going to start adding some sinew. The thing that strikes me is these deltoids are a little bit small. He's going to need really powerful deltoids to, use his arms. I'll bulk those out just a little bit. Thinking about like what, makes this creature move. And it also has to look like our, it can take on our hero. Because our hero is likely going to have to shoot a bunch of these things. So if you make it look like it could just, be killed too easily, well, there's the fun in that. We want a challenge for our hero. If it's too big, then the creature could easily kill our hero. We got to make it just challenging enough where it looks skinny, but also getting the bifurcation of the tricep here. Build that up a little bit. So the next stage of this will probably be to start getting some more wrinkles on it, like finding places for wrinkling. I can start putting some of this moleskin. I think like this type of moleskin would be really cool for the top of the head. So that'll be fun to do, like especially like up here. How does it look in a normal viewer without all the gray all over in full quality? It looks like this. So I'll check it in ZBrush, or I'll check it out in Keyshot just so I can look at the forms, evaluate how it's looking. Also, with a nice real camera like this as well. Do I ever get bored doing this? It depends. Honestly, it depends because when you're on a job, you have deadlines and pressure associated with it. So your mind is like, okay, how much time do I have? Is the client asking for stuff soon? Like, are they getting itchy? Like sometimes when you start working with a client in the beginning, you're trust building. And so they're like, are you going to be able to make the art? Even though they look at your portfolio, you've been doing this for a number of years. They're like, can you make the art for me? So they get a little nervous. So you have to be able to communicate with your client and say, like, it'll take this long, it'll take this long. When you're doing something that you've done over and over and over again, it becomes rote. So I've done a lot of creatures, so I have that muscle memory built up. That's why I'm able to talk and sculpt at the same time, in addition to teaching. But when I'm getting bored, it's because I'm not thinking about story. I'm not coming up with a story for this guy, so that makes it more interesting to me. And then the flip side is like sometimes, excuse me, I'm just watching movies. You know what I mean? I'll work and chill and sculpt, because you can sculpt and watch stuff at the same time and take in information. Eventually, you don't think about it, so it just becomes something to do. You need something to listen to. So right now, I'm watching The Witcher, and it's just fun. It's just good fun. So I'm thinking I'll give him this kind of skin. On top of the head. Yeah. Yeah. When you're struggling with what to do, with what to sculpt, it's usually because you're not thinking about story. Because characters and stories are one in one. Character is story. A character is their history. So I'll come up with a background for this guy. Like, how did this guy evolve? Then I'll come up with a story about how he's eating people. A lot of the times in design, you don't get the full story. You're getting snippets maybe from a client. You'll get a breakdown maybe, but you won't get the full story. So you have to come up with, coming up with that in your head makes it, more fun. And then sometimes what you come up with actually ends up changing the story. So I had that happen where sculpted a creature and a detail that I had put on, I just thought, they said, we need this thing for this creature to do this. And I was just thinking like, oh man, maybe if I gave him this. I can't give specifics for obvious reasons, but I was like, well, what if I gave him this? And I just put it in there, just because that's what my brain was telling me to do. And they liked it, and they liked it so much that they're rewriting part of the script to write this thing in. So whenever that happens, it's awesome. So thinking about story keeps you invested in the character. So Mechagodzilla, for example, I was just thinking about the fight, Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla. What would a fight between them look like? If I was a designer in Apex, if I was the guy, at the working in the basement, drawing up plans, what would we come up with to kill Godzilla? How does it feel to see your creations, Mechagodzilla in particular, become action figures, toys, attached statues, even a pop? What other creations have become toys? Do you own them? Every time a design comes out, they made a toy from it, I do buy it. So I worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 2014 one, so I bought all those toys that came with it. I have a Lego set of the Turtles as well. So I bought all of that stuff. Pete's Dragon. They made a toy of Pete's Dragon. So I bought that as well. Much harder to find merch for this guy. So they didn't make a lot, but I did buy him when they got it. So I found the toys, and I have a little one over here. So I have a little one that they have over here, and then I have the big one, and this one has this guy has wing action, so he actually flies. And there's a little Elliot on there as well, or there's a little Pete. Sorry, Elliot is the dragon. And then I also have the Crooked Man from Conjuring 2 because I designed him. So I have a Crooked Man as well. So I buy all that stuff, man. I love it. There's no feeling like seeing your design on screen and then seeing it in toy form. It's the coolest. It is absolutely the coolest feeling. I love it. My kid we gave my kid a bunch of Godzilla toys when the movie came out, so he loves it, obviously, because he got toys. So I love it. It's fuel, and it's also a reminder when I have down days. It is because sometimes the job is hard, and sometimes it can be, I'm an artist, and so some days, are tough, and so you need reminders that it's hard work, but the rewards are worth it. So I have posters up. I have I have a Pete's Dragon you can't see it because of the light, but I have a Pete's Dragon poster. On the flip side of the wall, what I stare at is my autograph poster of the Turtles. So I have the director's autograph and the producers on that. So that's what I stare at all day. I also have in my computer itself, I have my Mechagodzilla in there, my Funko Pop. So I buy all of it. I love it. I love seeing it in toy form, and it keeps me going. It keeps me juiced, and some days when you're fighting imposter syndrome, you need reminders that it's worth it. It's worthwhile. So it's a blast. It is a job, and it's a great privilege to get to do this job. And you also know that you're going up against other really talented artists who are also working in the industry as well, because you're not doing this in a void. You know that other people are working on the same thing as you. So when your design is selected, it's a high, and you're chasing it. You're chasing that dragon, and that's what we say is the highs are very high and the lows are very low. So sometimes on those tough days, when you don't feel like you're hitting it, you need reminders to keep you going. So um, it doesn't take away. Yes, and tax deductible. It's all tax deductible, right? Because I worked on it. Deadlines. Rawa, you're saying that deadlines take away the enjoyment. I think deadlines are good. Artists need deadlines because deadlines make you focus. Now, sometimes if you're rushed, it does not feel good, right? It sucks because you're trying to produce quality work, sometimes with the ticking clock in your face. But on the flip side of that, it forces you to make decisions, and you, I think, are better for it. So I like deadlines. I like knowing how long I have to work on something, because then I can do the math and be like, okay, I'm just going to not show this part of the model. So deadlines can be good. And in fact, if you're working on your own stuff, you should put yourself on a deadline. And that's what I did when I was building my portfolio. I would say, okay, I'm going to give myself a week to work on this. And by the end of the week, I have to be done. And thankfully, that deadline pushed me, and it pushed me hard. So it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it sucks, but and you don't feel like you get the quality work that you want, but you just do your best. And some days you're happy with the work, and some days you're not, and some days you feel like you nailed it and you're on top of the world, and then other days it's like, if only I had done this. So all you can do is just your best every day, and you don't always hit it, but sometimes you do. So well, that's, I think, a good stopping point for tonight. So I think I made some good progress on this guy. I'm going to continue on him next week, so you can see the next stage of this. So please stay tuned. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Thank you to our sponsor, Lenovo, for sponsoring our streams. If you get a chance, watch Josh Herman's stream Archetype. Check out Art Jam with Josh Herman and Alex Alvarez. They always have fantastic demos and information. And thank you, everybody. And I hope to see you on the internet making sweet, awesome monsters. So thank you all, and we'll see you later. So good night.